And welcome once again to the Liberty Lounge podcast. I am hanging out with these two. Out in California is Anthony, the armed scholar. Anthony, you got one gun the rest of your life, desert island. What are you taking?
Just an AR. Give me my BCM.
A BCM AR, not a bad choice. Jared of Guns and Gadgets is to my left. You're headed to the desert island. One gun. What you taking?
249. Going with the saw.
You're going with a saw?
Yeah,
Good Lord.
Own the whole island immediately.
You're going to have to carry
screw
that
this island.
Just once.
You have to. You're going to own the island just once. I'm taking a Glock 43 and totally stock with the plastic sights because, I'm a grown man and I don't need to rely on a belt-fed machine gun. All right, there's a lot going on right now. Here's the deal. Up in your place, your town, Massachusetts, and I don't think we're clutching pearls here. I really don't. I think this is real.
It's happening.
It's happening. It really is happening. There is a virus called the Triple E, and it's something that horses get. Somebody got it. One person got it.
Yeah. One case right now.
There's one case of, if you haven't seen this, there's one case of, and what's the name of the virus?
Eastern equine encephalitis.
Triple E. It's got encephalitis in the end of it. That's a lot of vowels. The more vowels, the deadlier it is. One person contracts it. It's allegedly brought on by mosquitoes. This has nothing to do with the fact that Bill Gates has been genetically modifying and releasing mosquitoes. Has nothing to do with that. And now they are actually doing lockdowns, and they're pretending it's not a lockdown. It's a voluntary lockdown. I want to talk about that. For the folks that have, like we talked about last episode, that actually go to work and don't have time to sit and click on the internet like the three of us do, walk us through what's going on. How real is it?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's two versions of this going on now. One is for Triple E. The other one has snuck in under the West Nile because Fauci got bit and got sick. So we got to do something with West Nile too. So
not suspicious at all that has to do with mosquitoes also.
Yeah, right. It's not suspicious at all. And in fact, I watched the news last night in Tennessee, and they were talking about some weird virus here in Tennessee with mosquitoes. So it's coming to a theater near you. So if you look dead center in Massachusetts, the city's Worcester, and just below Worcester, where I'm from, Worcester. There are four towns that all touch each other: Douglas, Webster. So it's Douglas, Sutton, Webster, and Oxford. They all touch each other. And every single year in Massachusetts, in all of New England, we have mosquito issues because it's the humid time of year. There's a lot of wetland up there. And we always have Triple E and West Nile, always. It's never had lockdowns. So one person contracts this, and they start initially by saying it's a voluntary lockdown from 6 p.m. till 5 a.m., essentially sundown to sunup, where they want you to stay inside. And if you choose to come outside, if you want your kids to partake in like football or soccer or field hockey or softball or anything
or
that happens,
participate in life.
Yeah, anything that happens in the fall, well, then the parents would have to have proof of insurance, mental health insurance, and sign a letter, an indemnification letter, so that the town is scot-free. For, I don't know, 70 years, 80 years, people have used things like Off, Skin So Soft, Citronella, and it's never been an issue.
Just smoke a cigar. They don't come around.
But now the government thinks, you know what? We tricked them with COVID. We're going to do it again. And now we're going to use the Triple E boogeyman, and they're locking people voluntarily to stay inside from dusk till dawn. And October 1st, it rolls back an hour, because daylight savings time. So they've already thought of that. So October 1st will be 5 p.m. until 5 a.m. They recommend you stay in. And then on the eastern part of the state, Plymouth. In the Plymouth area, they had one case of West Nile on an animal. One case. So what's Plymouth doing? Well, they saw what the four towns in Central Mass are doing. They're doing the exact same thing, except they canceled all the afternoon sports. If a season still wants to operate, they have to be able to do it, including all practices and games before sundown, which is impossible because school exists. So it's happening. It's already happening. I had a couple of people push back when I did the video. The first one, telling everybody, raising the alarm that it was happening, and people were like, no, it's not, rah, 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 clutching your pearls. It's happening. I have family still in those towns. It's going to get worse before it gets better. So just know that it's probably going to be coming to you if they can, if you have mosquitoes.
If you have mosquitoes, we all have mosquitoes in the summertime. Anthony, are we overreacting? Would the government actually try to lock us down? Granted, and I get it, they didn't actually lock us up last time. We just complied with nonsense. However, it was semi-forced in some ways. A lot of the military folks, if you want to get a paycheck and keep your career rolling, you got to get it. The lawsuits are rolling now.
But there were, before Anthony jumps in, there were people who got locked up for going outside. Remember the people on the beaches in Hawaii? A surfer got arrested. California, I think, was a surfer got arrested. So there were some of the communist states that were locking people up. There were pastors who didn't want to stop church, and they got arrested. So there were people who were actually locked down by the government. If you had the balls to come outside, they took away your freedom.
I didn't. I wore a mask the entire time. I complied with all government nonsense, and I will this time around also. But Anthony, do you think this is serious? Are people talking about it, or is just us YouTubers trying to find something to make videos about?
No, I think it's always a concern. And I mean, there are things that are always trickling in to the news, like the whole monkeypox stuff was trickling in, and the concerns about that. And then now there's this, and there's obviously coming off of COVID, us freedom lovers are obviously concerned about, what's next, because like Johnny, you said, they didn't really force us here in California. It definitely felt like it was forced on us. There was plenty of businesses that were getting fines for operating, in gyms that were getting fined or shut down by the municipalities and the counties or the cities for still operating when they weren't supposed to. Same thing with like restaurants. And a lot of those restaurants ended up, like, as we know, never even recovered and ended up having to close because of all this stuff. It definitely, where I was at, it felt pretty forced. Um, even if it was just because everybody shut down and you couldn't even go out anyways because nothing was operating. Yeah, I think there's always concern. I don't know, because I don't know anybody in Massachusetts. The only person I ever knew was Jared, and he's not there anymore. But he has people that he knows there. I'm just kind of curious to, like, how widespread, like, really is it? Are people complying? Because that's always my interest, is coming off of COVID. How malleable are people still? Like, how are, I mean, I get it. Massachusetts, like California, there's definitely some left leaning ideology. So are you hearing a lot of people that are definitely complying with this and
Yeah,
shutting themselves down?
there are people who chug the Kool-Aid, man. There's people who, they get scared, so they're going to make their kids stay in, not realizing that it's just a bunch of BS. And, like, I don't know if you guys heard about this one, but in Massachusetts, when COVID happened, the governor and who's now the governor, she was the AG then, they shut down anything related to the Second Amendment. They battened the hatches. You couldn't even open up. And I brought GOA in, credit to them. I got them in where they threatened an immediate lawsuit and called the state's bluff. And they actually opened things up only after GOA got Donald Trump to say that anything Second Amendment related is, what was the term he used? But like a fundamental, an essential business, and they couldn't be shut down. And then with that happening, GOA teamed up and they got the state back open. Like Massachusetts, they just shut down anything related to guns and ammo, and you couldn't get a permit and you couldn't buy a gun. So they've done it before and they'll do it again. This time they're just using mosquitoes.
Same way here, like they shut down gun stores, gun ranges, and California caught multiple lawsuits because of the gun ranges, and they lost even in the Ninth Circuit on a lot of those lawsuits. So yeah, I mean, I think similar to Massachusetts, California was very rabid. And when Johnny makes jokes about mosquitoes, like California, where we're at, it's very much my specific area. It's very much known for West Nile. It's very prevalent here. I bet you I could pull up the statistics somewhere, but multiple people, I think, every single year get West Nile here where I'm at, along with valley fever and all the other crazy stuff we have. And, years past, it's just kind of whatever. It's kind of just where you live. Like, oh, you sucky, you live in California in this area, maybe you can get West Nile or valley fever. I wouldn't be surprised if all of a sudden,
valley fever. That's the one they used today in the news in Tennessee.
We got valley fever in the Tennessee Valley.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's cases of the plague. The plague is back in the United States. It's come across the southern border, and we haven't had the plague in a long time. There's been some new cases of polio. We had eradicated polio. But how prevalent are these? Is it is it going to be an actual epidemic, or is the news just using isolated cases to be able to I don't know, transfer a bazillion dollars from mom and pops up to Jeff Bezos? I don't know. I do know it's about control. I do know it's about money, and money and power are kind of the same thing in many ways. So it's about money and power. To Anthony's question, will people comply this time? I don't feel like it's a huge swing left to right. I just think it's a little bit of a pushy that one side will continue to gargle the balls of the government and the news and whatever they say. And I think those folks, they don't just love the government. Now they're moving because it's anti Donald Trump and it's anti right and it's anti conservative to follow the narrative. Now they can virtue signal even more than they used to. I still see people wearing freaking paper masks. All that mask says is, I am virtuous. I am the one following the real rules, and the rest of you all are conservative losers. Go to hell. And I really think that's what those masks mean today. Unless they have a compromised immune system and they're wearing a real mask, different story. I think on the other hand, the swell the other direction, I think they ain't putting up with this middle finger to the government in so many ways. I think we're going to have a little more backbone this time. I don't think it'll be blood in the streets, but I think a little more. And I think it'll be enough where it might give local and state municipalities pause before they try to make us do bullcrap.
Yeah, just the fact that you haven't seen the entire state of Massachusetts get shut down, because Maura Healey would be the person. She's the governor now. She'd be the one. The fact that she's pumping the brakes and just like, we'll see if this is really an issue or not. That says a lot. When you have like the ultimate blue-haired clown of the whole circus, and then Gavin Newsom. Gavin Newsom hasn't done anything yet, and like they're 1A and 1B for the fool train. So hopefully, there's more pushback.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
So, Jared, for that one town that got shut down because of that one incident of a horse getting West Nile, that was the whole rationale. Like, how prevalent was West Nile in that specific area?
In Massachusetts, every year there's always warnings that a couple of mosquitoes here or there in this town, your town, have all tested positive for West Nile. Maybe use long sleeves after dark. The things we've been all doing since we've been children, right? All the things our parents taught us, but now they're just they're so quick to overreact and try to be the boss of everybody. Now we have voluntary lockdowns for mosquito bites, which is just asinine.
I just pulled up my stats for California because I said it's so prevalent here. This is 2022. There were 216 human cases in my area of West Nile, people contracting it, and then 15 deaths, and that was just in 2022. So I was just curious, like it sounds like it's pretty prevalent in your guys' area too. Mm-hmm. In my mind, I was like, okay, I could see it if there was some random state that has never experienced West Nile, and not saying that to shut them down, but like obviously the blue-haired lefties would freak out. But the fact that it's something that you guys deal with year over year, pretty prevalent. A single horse gets it, and then they're like, "Oh, we're going to use this to shut the entire town down." Yeah, that's concerning. That is concerning.
The statistics, if you take like the last 5 years of how many people actually contracted it, it's like, so there's 5 zeros, 0.000001. That's your chance of getting like serious symptoms, because West Nile typically it's mild symptoms that most people deal with, whereas Triple E, there's about a 30 to 32% fatality rate in humans, which is, I can see them pumping the brakes on that. But we've had Triple E in New England for as long as I've been alive, so it's just people overreacting now. Like the 2.5 years that they were afraid of talking to people, afraid of groups, afraid of going outside. Now people are, I think, quicker to go back into their shell now with anything.
Yeah. Do you feel like there's that longing in that area to like, because there's definitely still a pocket here in California of certain people, and I've heard people say, and I know I've mentioned it before, where they'll say, I wish I could go back to COVID and just sit at home and watch Netflix all day. Is there still that sentiment even out there? Because I mean, that, John, you make the face, but yeah, there are people that really still long for what we had to deal with. I mean,
I work with college freshmen. There is a percentage of them that would love to go back to that. They loathe having to come to class and put on pants, and the idea of getting $600 a month from the government to do nothing. Yeah, I think people want to do that. I think there's a lot of folks that would absolutely love to do that. I think there's a lot of folks, even more, that's going to say hell no to the government. I'm going outside and I'm not wearing a damn mask again.
Yeah.
The problem in Massachusetts, like it's so dark blue that people like, I mean, yeah, in some of the suburban areas, yeah, they'll be a little more red, there'll be a little more pushback, but like Boston will eat it up, Worcester will eat it up, Springfield will eat it up. And the schools, that's the big problem. Like the school, the teachers union, they're like the mafia in Massachusetts. Like whatever the head of the NEA, whatever it is, NEA does, like everybody will follow. And if you have the nerve to talk back, then you're an MVE.
Johnny, I have a question that you brought up just mentioning because you work with a lot of like new freshmen and all that. I was talking to someone in my personal life and they were mentioning some of these new kids entering the workforce and a lot of these kids who had to deal with like the COVID school period where they were, really weren't going to school and they just gave everybody A's. And these kids didn't really socialize during those really critical formative years. Like, what are you seeing on your end? Like when you're dealing, is there a difference with some of these kids? And I get it. You guys are in Tennessee, so it's a little bit different from probably California kids because some of these young California kids are weird as it is. But are you seeing a difference?
Yeah, there is a huge difference and a huge swing, my opinion and my colleagues' opinion. And we do have like, even though we didn't go full on lockdown here, the schools were all shut down. I did not see my teaching office for over 18 months, like 19 months total. Didn't even go in there. And then there was also a long period of time where the kids were masked up and they were breathing their own effluents, which shuts down oxygen. It was big time problems for the little ones. And so now those kids are in college now. And I spent last year I had the ones that they spent almost their whole high school career in lockdown and in that. And you take 2.5 years, and it was a solid 2 years, but that being your sophomore and junior year, your senior year, they don't do crap around here.
Mhm.
But that make that your sophomore and junior year, then they show up to my class. To your question, yeah, there's a big difference. And there is two different groups. There's a group that never came back offline because in higher education, we had to make online learning more robust. And then it's still there. So the system is still there. There's a lot of students didn't come back. The ones that did are better than they used to be. The ones that chose to come back, they enjoy interpersonal. And a friend of mine has a theory that the ones that came back are going to be the bosses and the owners, and the ones that thrive, and the ones that didn't, regardless of their IQ or their EQ or their academic prowess, they are going to end up working for the ones that came back. So yeah, there is a little bit of a divide. There's also a serious problem with work ethic. There's a serious problem with deadlines. Deadlines are a major problem in America right now with 18 to 25-year-olds because they spent so long just turn it in when you can. You're under lockdown, just get it in whenever. And there's a real problem with deadlines. There's a problem with reading. Students today they won't read anything. Will not read anything in paragraph form. They expect bullet points. And if there's no bullet points and a TLDR, too long didn't read at the bottom, they'll just skip it all, and they're very frustrated without a TLDR. Now, I could go on for literally another 2 hours. To answer your question, yes, there is a big swing. I think we're going to be okay in some ways. Some of the ones that came back are pretty sharp, but we are losing more through the cracks and the ethos of nonsense. Jared, tell these awesome folks about our sponsor today.
The sponsor of this segment is Brownells. Brownells are our personal friends out in Grinnell, Iowa. They are patriots. They are on our team, and they have a phenomenal business where you can get all kinds of tools where you might be interested in.
Not my best segue, but one of your best voices. You wouldn't do a voice there for Brownells. Brownells, massive selection. We love them. Thank you to those folks. Jump out there. Tell them that we sent you.
We want to thank the sponsor of today's show, Patriot Mobile. For 10 years, Patriot Mobile has been America's only Christian conservative wireless provider. And when I say only, trust me, they're the only one. Patriot Mobile is a new supporter of the Liberty Lounge, and we are proud to partner with them. Patriot Mobile offers dependable nationwide coverage, giving you the ability to access all three major networks, which means you get the same coverage you've been accustomed to without funding the left. When you switch to Patriot Mobile, you're sending the message that you support free speech, religious freedom, the sanctity of life, the Second Amendment, and our military veterans and first responder heroes. Their 100% US-based customer service team makes switching easy. Keep your number, keep your phone, or upgrade. Their team will help you find the best plan that meets your needs. Just go to patriotmobile.com/liberty or call 972-PATRIOT. You can get free activation when you use the offer code Liberty. Join me and make the switch today.
All right, I got a big question for you guys. I am headed next week to Thunder Ranch to train, and I wanted to end today's segment by just saying, hey, give me some help. Give me some advice. Jared, you've been to Thunder Ranch to train. Anthony, you've trained all over the place. Give me some advice. This is going to be I can't remember, it's either my 6th or my 7th trip out there, and it's going to be, sometimes I take 2 classes. So I think it's going to be my 9th or my 10th class out there. So I've done it. But every time before I go, I like thinking, assessing what should go in my bag.
Well, I know it's an urban rifle, so I would bring a backup bolt carrier group.
So a full rifle and a second bolt carrier group.
Yep. I'd bring a parts kit just in case, detent in case you go to clean something and it takes a skyrocket. I didn't take anything to clean the gun when we went last time, so just in case, Clint tells you to eat the sandwich. But what I would like to see, so like when I go to a lot of classes, I try to take one individual skill and isolate that. Like, don't worry about your stance so much. Don't worry about your grip so much. Maybe work on trigger reset. Like, focus in on one skill that you think you can improve on. And for everybody watching, it could be something totally different. Maybe picking up the red dot or picking up that front sight after recoil, but prep that trigger. Work on prepping the trigger.
The thing that I've been working on lately is with the AR, drop that mag, eyes on target, drop that mag, grab, come all the way in, pop, and get back up, and never leave eyes on the target. And I'm getting there. I'm starting to get there. Anthony, when you pack a bag for a trip like this, I'm taking an urban rifle class, which is fighting with an AR at pistol distances. So you're in a parking lot kind of a deal, or you're trying to get from the door at Walmart to your car. So it's pistol distances, but you have an AR. What should go in my bag?
I mean, it's hard because there's so many. I mean, I usually have my Pelican case, which is my main like travel.
Should have said can opener.
Can opener. Yeah, I'll leave the. We'll
Anthony
abandon the
was doing
joke.
his standard answer. It's hard because there's so many answers and there's so many options. I'm like, buddy,
No,
I
they're
believe
really-
in you.
they're re-
I believe in you. You got it. You got it, buddy.
Well, Jared already said bolt carrier, so I would always say batteries, and you probably should check and zero your optic before you go. I always recommend if someone's going to go, if you're doing a paid course, especially if you're traveling, you better at least a week before, you better shoot that rifle. You better make sure it's zeroed and have the batteries changed and have all the extra parts and all that stuff. Make sure your optics like tightened down and all that stuff, and maybe even bring a secondary optic for your rifle, because if you're flying with it or drive, you never know. I've heard horror stories of TSA breaking people's optics on their handguns or even on their rifles. So you don't want to get there and then just have a shattered optic because TSA does whatever they do, whatever weird voodoo they do when they take your guns. So maybe have a backup optic that you're comfortable with. But I would
have
say
not thought about that.
Mine went down when we were there.
Yeah, yours did go down. I have not thought about that, about a backup optic. Usually I just switch to iron sights, but an actual backup optic, that's good advice. The other thing is, and I hate to admit this, that I leave in 4 days for this trip, and I can't find the rifle that I'm taking. And so I probably should get it to the range maybe a little bit. I've been going to the range and training with another one, but I probably should get myself out to the range with that one. I moved and I haven't been able to find it since I moved. So I haven't seen it since February. I know it runs.
You want to get the most out of your training? Go with something that's totally foreign. Bring an AK.
I know you're kidding, but I have thought about bringing an AK. I've got so much muscle memory locked in on my AR platform, left shoulder and right shoulder. I don't know if I want to go suffer through a platform that I'm not comfortable with.
Best place to learn.
Is it a $2,000 course?
Yeah. Clinton loves AKs. He's going to, if you have an issue, the right guy to have you right into the fast lane is Clint and his crew.
Anthony, tell Jared why he's wrong.
I mean, I don't necessarily disagree, but my theory when I do any training courses, which are especially paid for, I don't go shoot new rifles. Like usually when I'm going to train, it's for not necessarily the platform itself. It's not to like, oh, I want to test this new gun or I want to learn this completely new skill set or this completely new platform. It's to hone the fundamental skills that I'm already working on, like on an AR platform, because let's be honest, that government watch list term, when shit hits the fan, I'm going to be grabbing my tried and true AR, probably my BCM. So when I go and train, I'm always taking my BCM or my Sons of Liberty, because those are my main training rifles, to take out all other variables. So like Jared said, if I want to focus on one specific skill set, I don't have to worry about, oh man, to, you know, reload or to do speed reloads on an AK is so much different than an AR-15, and have to be worrying about that during the whole training period. Now, if you're doing a dedicated course for like AKs, because there's definitely those out there, then yeah, go, you know, go do that. Um, and if you're, maybe if you feel very squared away when it comes to like your AR-15 platform, then okay, yeah, let's start building those other skill sets of the AK, or go shoot the Hellion, like Mike when he brought out to the one when he brought the Hellion, and you go do that. That's awesome. But for me, when I'm training, I still have so much skill that I need to build up on the basic AR-15 platform, that I don't go, yeah, I'm going to try this new thing or this new handgun or this new rifle. I kind of
What's
stay
it
the
called when
trenches.
you put your AK mag in it? It goes in wrong and it gets locked in there. Mag lock.
It's called, you made a boo boo.
I made boo boo. I can do boo boos big on the AK. I don't want to do AK boo boos on the range.
Let me run this by you. I want both of your opinion on this, because for me, like, I can work on anything I want anytime I want, right? I really want to take on a new skill, learn a new skill when I have the sensei's attention. So when will I, like, if I am really, like you said, going into it, like, I'm really good on this shoulder, I'm really good on that shoulder, well, then you're really decent. You have a foot up on most people who don't train at all. If you want to learn AK, now's the best time to do it. You have the sensei himself there, who would love to get you up and running with an AK.
I'll get yelled at though.
But so what? It's part of the game. That's how you learn. Like, if you want to be coddled and wait for the perfect time to get a perfect skill, it's probably not going to happen in our world anymore. Like, I would rather, like, I learned when Clinton yelled at me from when my red dot went down, "Where's your backups?" In Tennessee.
In Tennessee. Also, my favorite, when we're at a Thunder Ranch training and everybody's watching you, and you pow pow pow, mag out, put a new mag in, got ready, and everybody watched, and you went click, and your mag just went boop,
Yeah.
dropped a mag in front of everybody. It was so good. I've done that a million times, but for you, who's a tattooed operator, to do it, it makes me so freaking happy. I'm nervous about the trip. I'm always nervous because before I go, because I want it to be a good experience. It's going to be fun. I know it's going to be fun, but I also want to get as much out of it as I can. I think that's great advice. I love Anthony saying get some batteries and another backup optic. That's fantastic. I'm going to take the same one that I took with you guys. I think I'm going to take two rifles, and I'll have a full size backup as well. And I like your point of just training on one thing, like thinking about one thing. There's several things that I worked on last time that we went, and really trying to narrow down what I work on. Great question of the day for you folks. Where's your dream range to train? We all have ideas. There's places you want to go. I had Battle Ridge on my list. You and I went there last year. We've been there a couple times. And I'd like to hear where you all want to go. Anthony, I want to hear from you too. I have never been to Gunsight, and I would love to go to Gunsight. That's the one. Anthony, where you want to go? What's on your list?
I would like to train at some point with our buddy John Lovell. I think it would be appropriate to do one of his courses. So I think that would be really cool. Or, you know, Travis Haley, or even like a JJ Rakaza course would be really cool. So there's a few I would love to do.
Where you got?
Yeah, I was gonna say Travis Haley. I don't know him, but I've watched his stuff from afar, and it seems like a pretty solid place to train.
Is that Garantham's dad? Allegedly, I think it is. I think it's Garantham's father. I think they are. I think they're actually related. All right, that's a good question for the day. Where do y'all want to train? I think for me, that's enough. I'm going to get home. I'm going to go and work on my batteries. I need to get more batteries. I need to get my bag ready. And I know AirPro, iPro, but I love the idea of a second bolt carrier group and just be ready to rock and roll. Anthony, final word. What are you excited about today?
Guns. Guns are fun. Get out and train. Go shoot. Go do jujitsu or martial arts and get beat up. Do hard things.
Patronizing. Go do martial arts in the garage.
Go do kung fu.
You did a voice on the Brownells ad also. Both of y'all are patronizing me today. Jared, what are you excited about today? What's going on in your life that you're actually excited about? And if you say kung fu, I'm flipping this table.
No, man, I just I got I've been on the road for a couple of weeks, and I have a week home with the wife and kids, and that's just, for me, it's exciting to do nothing, to just go back to the ones that I'm doing this for. So that's fun for me, because I'm going to be back on the road for another 5 weeks for the most part, and it's going to be rough. So I'm loving it now.
It's going to be fun. We're going to have a lot of fun on the road this fall. I'm going to answer my own question. I'm excited about cigars with an old friend. We've got a friend of ours is in town tonight, and I'm going to go hang out with him and just tell old stories and laugh and be with the boys. And to your point, why do we do all of this? Well, it's about human connections. And I think it's important for all of us as we head into fall. Fall for me is always a time of campfires and just hanging out with friends. It's time to relax and get ready for the holidays. We travel too much. I think all three of us do sometimes. Anthony said, I think on the last episode, he's going to try to spend an entire month at home. I think that's great. So I think it's good for all of us to kind of assess before the nonsense and the chaos of the holidays begins. Speaking of nonsense and chaos, on behalf of Nonsense and Chaos out in California, on behalf of Anthony the Arm Scholar, Jared Guns and Gadgets, I'm Johnny B, and we'll see you soon.